You know, one other thing that I'm reminded of one of my colleagues is that in this whole scenario, we've heard from, and we'll hear from, 4 or 5 white women with regard to their level of frustration with dealing with this man. That's all nice. But you've not heard from one African American, and that's what I think is the difference that I tried to point out with Hodge, who is the focus of this man's genocidal talk. And he lived it. He's the man out in the streets who was doing it. So I won't argue now. Perhaps you'll allow me to come back to that just prior to McKinney. And I think you'll see the relevance of this, Judge. We're talking 15 minutes of testimony.
Talking very, very lengthy cross-examination of Hodge, and there's still additional 402 issues that relate to him. In particular, for instance, he was apparently arrested and dismissed. One he was acquitted on, and it's going to require additional rebuttal because there are other officers who had contact with Mr. Hodge.
We're not threatened by them doing that. I mean, if they want to do that, that's their business. If they want to defend this man was acquitted of this charge when this officer was arrested him. So if they want to bring that, that's their problem. If they want to engage in those tactics, fine. What I'm telling you is what we would like to do. But I'll accept your offer. I don't want to waste time.
Bring me Blasini.
I'll bring you Blasini, and then we'll revisit this issue. Right,
Well, you'll have the lunch hour to think about it.
Will you think about it also, yeah?
Think about it all the time, Mr. Cochran.
May I just a second?
With respect to Mr. Blasini, I would like to, I have the material being brought down now. He has a couple of prior convictions that I'd like to leave the court to impeach him with on cross-examination. I'd like to show the court counsel his
Maybe approach your, rather than trashing every witness that comes up, may we approach the bench? He doesn't have any felony convictions. This is typical of the prosecution's behavior. May we approach the bench? I wanted to show any felonies they have with this man.
Wait. Do you have, wait, both sides. Do you have any proofs of priors with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, is the package coming down?
Now, that's what I wanted to, I thought I had it with me this morning, and I guess I don't, it's up on my desk. I wanted to show that to the court. As I understand it, since Prop 115 and Prop 8, we are not confined to felony convictions. We can also use misdemeanor convictions.
That are evidence of moral turpitude.
Correct.
So you'll need a ruling on that beforehand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well,
I don't requesting the court's permission to impeach a witness with prior convictions, trashing the witness. I have them, and it's physical proof that I have them.
Wait till we see them, Your Honor. And what's the date on it, may I ask?
well, let's see where they are.
I'll make sure I have the paperwork there.
All right. Are you aware of these convictions, Mr. Cochran?
I'm not aware of any felony convictions. I know he had some problems 20 years ago. And I'd like to see the date.
All right, would it have an impact, his criminal record, would that have an impact on your decision to call him?
I don't think so, but I certainly want an opportunity to see whatever they're claiming.
All right, I take it, Ms. Clark, it's on its way?
It's on its way right now. Why don't we begin the examination that Mr. Cochran is going to call him, regardless of the court's ruling? Why don't we start?
No, that's not what I heard.
Oh.
I take it some courier is bringing that down forthwith?
Yes.
have him here this afternoon. 6 o'clock day.
5:30 day. What motions do we have on for today?
I think that I thought we had the Brady motion, the suppression motion, and we have a motion we filed today with regard to questions that Your Honor proffered, I believe, proffered to the DAs, and I'm not sure that's been responded to yet, but I think it's certainly those first two.
Ms. Clark?
No, I don't know, they keep giving us these witness lists with all these names on them, and then he's dropping down now, there were 17 names on this list. He's dropping down to name 16. What happened to all the people they want to have in here? What about Rivas?
I was addressing you as Mr. Munger wanted to know what I should have.
I mean, what I'm saying is, Your Honor, why don't we get something realistic from the defense about who they intend to call?
No, the
Are they
issue
going-
is, when are we going to take up these motions? That's the issue.
We're ready to do it whenever Your Honor says. I wanted to get some testimony.
Excuse me, counsel, I was addressing Ms. Clark.
We can do them at any time, Your Honor. We wanted to file a response on the reconsideration of the McKinney paper, but,
When are you going to be available to file a response to that?
yes, Your Honor, we've already, I think, visited the issue through the request for reconsideration of Christian Reichardt's testimony. And I think that all we need to do is represent the points and authorities on this issue to the court again in the context of the McKinney tapes, and we don't need to file paper, we can argue it orally. We want to get this going too, and I don't think the court needs to have us file more paper on the issue. I think that we can just submit it to you.
All right, well, then we'll take it up at the end of today,
And the end of the day is,
5:30, today. All right. Where's our priors package?
My question for what should I tell Darrell Munger regarding the Texas permit?
Well, I don't know, counsel, you're asking me to read your mind as to where you want to go with this, because you have Mr. Blasini. I take it this has to do with something about access to the Bronco, if I recollect correctly? All right. Then after Blasini, who do you anticipate calling?
We're going to talk again about Hodge, hopefully, and then McKinney. And Rokar rather first. Rokar.
All right.
okay, what about Rivas and Andrew Terry?
The suppression hearing, we need from the suppression hearing.
He's not known, he's not needed for the suppression hearing at all.
We think, it's our motion, they can't tell us who to call.
Excuse me, but the law tells everyone who to call, Your Honor. I'm telling no one. Counsel should read the law, and that might help, because
Well, this is
30.5I
this
does
is
not
that
require.
1538.5 that was originally presented at the preliminary hearing, renewed in the Superior Court is, I think, the issue that you're framing, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor, and under the law,
I understand, I've read it.
all right,
There are certain limitations as to what
I
can be
understand that,
presented.
Your Honor, but we still want him here for that.
they're not entitled to have one for that.
If they want to
All right.
hire him, let them do it, Your Honor. We're going to have him here. They can't stop.
Well, let's do this. Let's set that for tomorrow at 5.
Well, Your Honor, we need to do that today, Your Honor, before.
All right, we'll do it today instead of the motion to reconsider.
We can't do both, Your Honor. Well, that's right.
Well, we got a finite amount of time today.
Well, we don't have that many witnesses from the standpoint we'll call. Let's see if we call all the witnesses we have, at least for today. For instance, Toronto can't be here today, he's got problems, according to his lawyer. There are people. And so let's go as far as we can.
All right, Mr. Darden, do you have the priors package for Mr. Gordon?
No, he's not the minion.
Different one.
Who was
That's the
assigned
minion.
that task. They're on the way.
Let me go up and check.
Why don't you let me go and get it?
No? I want you to stay here, Ms. Clark.
I don't know.
Why don't you let me go get it?
No, you stay here too, Mr. Darden. No, I want you guys to stay here.
Today's the 29th.
Yes.
Discovery issue while we're waiting.
Yes.
On the McKinney matter, if there's going to be a redacted videotape or audio tape, can I have that before lunch?
It's already been displayed to you, and the excerpts have been clearly delineated. So, I mean, you've seen it.
Yes, I've seen the complete tape. I'm just wondering if there is a shorter version that's going to be used as opposed to the one we saw last week.
Clark, it appears that Mr. Gordon has handed you a priors package with a CII rap sheet.
That's correct, Your Honor. He did not hand me the prior in the sense of the package we usually get on defendant certified documents. It's a rap sheet, which indicates that Mr. Blasini was arrested in 1974. January 74 for burglary.
All right, may I see the rap sheet, please?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Clark, let me ask you to show this to Mr. Cochran. Thank you.
you understand that on January 17th, 1974, in Oceanside, says Mr. Blasini was apparently arrested for burglary. There is no disposition whatsoever on that. Under that, there's a 148 PC.
Separate arrest in March.
In March of '74, Your Honor, was a misdemeanor which would have nothing to do with truth-telling or whatever. What good faith basis do they have for this?
Wait a minute, he's arrested in March for resisting arrest. March of '74.
Yes, and it was a 415, Your Honor. That means disturbing the
Found
peace.
pleading guilty to the 415.
It says 415, Your Honor, and in 1974, 21 years ago. Yeah, maybe we should just invite them to do this, but that's preposterous, Your Honor. Where's this package? Where's it certified? There's no relevance to this.
Well, counsel, what any party who wishes to impeach somebody with a prior conviction or prior criminal record needs to have a good faith basis upon which to ask questions on cross-examination, which traditionally a rap sheet is sufficient for the bases as the basis of a good faith offer. The next issue being A, is a 415 a crime of moral turpitude, and B, whether or not something that occurred in 1974 is untimely or stale.
I would say at the very minimum, it's untimely, stale. Can I say that in a second? Apparently, let me just indicate what happened on this. Talk about stale, Your Honor. This is from 1974, so it's 21 and 1/2 years ago. This man is a responsible businessman in this community now, has been for some time. This was an alleged misdemeanor where he got a 3 months, I guess, summary probation. Doesn't even show a fine for a 415. The other charge, there's no disposition. And, Your Honor, in this case in 1995, where we were so concerned about prejudice and that sort of thing, how could they even be allowed to do this? Certainly it's stale. Certainly this is a misdemeanor. It doesn't involve truth-telling. So can we dispense with this and proceed with the witness? We want to call the witness.
Clark? All right. Jeff?
May I proceed with my witness now, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, what we'll do is call the jury and tell them we're going to start with the next witness. I had to deal with something. All right. Deputy McNair, let's have the jurors out, please.
Whether we can expect to see Andrea Terry or Ernesto Rivas on the witness stand?
I think the indication from Mr. Cochran is he concedes that Andrea Terry, in light of Kathleen Bell's testimony, is probably cumulative.
And Ernesto Rivas?
Rivas, we have. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, the record should reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason for the delay for about 20 minutes just now was I had to await the delivery of certain documents to the court. I've had the opportunity to review those documents. I've made a ruling as to a certain evidentiary issue, and we're ready to start with the next witness, although we've come up on the lunch hour. So we will be ready to proceed when we come back at 1 o'clock with the next witness. Remember, all my admonitions to you: don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. This is very important. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the facts and circumstances of the case. All right, we'll see you back here after lunch, 1 o'clock. All right, we're in recess. Simpson matter, all parties are again present. Ms. Lewis.
Over the lunch hour, I prepared a response to the defense motion for reconsideration with regard to the Furman tapes and filed it just now and served it, so I want the court to be aware that that is there so you'll have an opportunity to read it before hearing an argument.
All right.
Can I say something about scheduling?
Yes, scheduling.
Just scheduling, yes. So we're all in the same wavelength. Two things. The court is aware we plan to call Mr. Blasini next, and I'm ready to proceed with him. He'll be followed by Mr. Rokar, the court pleases. And then, although Ms. McKinney is here, I'd like to read the court something and for the court to think about, because I'd like to reiterate what I'd said about Roderick Hodge. This is very brief. I'll ask the court to allow me to read this. It can be found on page 18899 of the transcript, Your Honor. Question by Mr. Bailey. And you say under oath that you have not addressed any black person as a nigger or spoken about black people as niggers in the past 10 years, Detective Furman? Answer, that's what I'm saying, sir. What I didn't articulate well enough this morning when I was talking to you was this. Hodge is the only witness on our defense list who can testify that Furman used the N-word in addressing him as an African American. Everybody else talks about conversation. This is the only witness, and I think if you read the question, and that impeaches him directly on that point of addressing an African American, is the only one we would call. I think it makes it a lot easier decision for Your Honor, because I'm going to ask Your Honor when we get to that point to allow us to call Hodge for this limited area, and then we would like to argue the motions with regard to McKinney, obviously, because what you rule on those motions as they're prepared will bear upon what we do and what we play for this jury, if anything. And so that's the order we'd like to proceed in, Your Honor.
All right, well, then I suggest we proceed with Blasini and with
Sure.
Rokar,
And we're ready to do that.
and then we'll take up that issue.
Sure. Just wanted to alert the court because you were talking about 5 o'clock, and I thought 5:30 I should bring this to your attention. We're ready to proceed.
All right, Deputy Magner, let's have the jurors, please. And let the record reflect that we've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Mr. Cochran, you may call the next witness.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. The defense will next call Mr. William J. Blasini, who is present in the courtroom.
All right, Mr. Blasini, would you come over here, stand next to the court reporter, and face the clerk, Mrs. Robertson?
My name is William Blasini, Jr. Blasini, B as in boy, L-A-S-I-N-I.
Mr. Cochran.
Thank you very kindly. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Mr. Blasini, sir. Would you move that microphone a little closer to you so we can all hear you this afternoon?
Okay.
Thank you very kindly, sir. Mr. Blasini, what is your occupation, sir?
I work for Pick Your Part, the world's largest self-service automobile recycling center.
And it's called Pick Your Part?
Yes, sir.
All right, and how long have you been so employed?
About 3.5 years.
And what is your present job title with Pick Your Part?
I'm general manager of vehicle purchasing.
And as such, tell us briefly what you do as the general manager of Pick Your Part.
Basically, I go to auctions, police auctions, impounds, and we buy cars.
All right. And you've been doing this for how long?
I Pick Your Part for 3.5 years.
Have you been in this industry before that time?
I was a wholesaler. I was wholesaling vehicles before this.
All right. So you've been around automobiles for some time, is that correct?
15 years, to be correct, sir.
All right, sir. I'd like, sir, to direct your attention back to the date of, I believe, June 21st of 1994. Did you have occasion on or about that date in the afternoon to be at Vertel's garage here in downtown Los Angeles?
Yes, I was.
And would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury under what circumstances were you at Vertel's on that date, that Tuesday, June 21st?
Well, every Tuesday we go there and we bid on cars. They have 4 locations, and the last location is at Temple, the main garage, and that's where we wind up. And when we finished bidding on the cars, I was walking in to do the paperwork when I just happened to see the Bronco inside the garage.
All right, so you say that you were accompanied by someone else at that point?
I was accompanied by Bob Jones, Andrew Atlin, myself, and Sam Atlin, I think. I'm not sure about Sam, if he was there that day.
Let's take them one at a time. We've heard the name Bob Jones before. By whom is Bob Jones employed?
Vertel's,
All right, you knew him prior to this date of June 21st.
yes.
And you mentioned a Mr. Adlin. What was Mr. Adlin's first name?
Andrew.
And who is Mr. Andrew Adlin?
He's a competitor. He also bids on the cars as well.
All right.
Spelling that. How do you spell Adlin, do you know?
Adlen, I believe, Your Honor. Andrew Adlin. And you mentioned another Adlin also, I believe.
It's his uncle. I assume it's his uncle.
So you were there in the company of the 2 Adlins and yourself and Bob Jones, is that correct?
I'm not correct on the second Atlin, but the first one was there, yes.
Are you sure about the first one? All right.
Yes.
You were describing that you were at Vertel's, and this jury's heard something about Vertel's and the layout there. Can you describe for us where you were once you got there on that particular afternoon?
Well, there's 2 entrances, 2 main entrances, one from the street and one from the back of the yard, and that's where we come from the back of the yard. Once we're done bidding on the vehicles, we come through the back of the garage, and right there as you walk in is the area where they keep the restricted vehicles. And as you continue past that area, you go down to their offices.
All right. And did you were walking in this area, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And while in this area, first before we get to that, tell us what time of day was it on June 12th, on June 21st?
It was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right, and at some point after 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on June 21st, did you see a white Bronco?
Yes, I did.
And who were you with when you first saw the Bronco?
I was with Andrew Atlin and Bob Jones.
All right. Did you have some conversation at all with Mr. Jones about that Bronco?
The minute I saw the Bronco, I was amazed that,
Excuse me. Question was, did you have any conversation with Mr. Jones, yes or no?
yes, I did.
Next question.
All right. And with regard, just before I get to that, Your Honor, may I approach the, thank you, Mr. Jones. I have, Your Honor, what has previously been marked, or in evidence, I guess, now as offenses 1254. I'd like to show this just so we can get acclimated to the witness.
Proceed.
This, sir, is defense exhibit number 1254. And have you ever seen this before?
Not this picture, no, I haven't.
All right. This purports to be the Vertel's garage here downtown Los Angeles on Temple Street.
Correct.
You recognize that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And there are various buildings from T1 through T5. Do you see those?
Yes, sir.
Just generally, I know you've never seen this before. Can you look at defenses 1254 and show us generally where this Bronco was housed on June 21st, about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
It was housed at the T2 area, the T2 building, which is the main building right here.
All right, he's holding it up for the jury to see, Your Honor. Can you all, may I call you in? Can they all see that? He's talking about T2, and the vehicle was housed somewhere in T2?
It was in the rear of the building.
All right, the rear of T2 as depicted on 1254, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
All right.
All right, 1386, can you see that? All right, 165? Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you very kindly. I'll see you here for that. So,
Mr. Cochran, could we move that just back 6 inches, the
sure, Your
easel?
Honor. I'll try to get back 6 inches, Your Honor. The boards are all here.
Mr. Douglas, could you help us on that, because it blocks the direct line of sight at juror number 7.
Here, the moment, Your Honor.
Certainly.
Some boards there.
right, Mr. Cochran, why don't you go ahead and proceed?
Sure, Your Honor. I think I just asked you a question about whether or not you had a conversation with Mr. Bob Jones about this particular Bronco, and you'd indicate yes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what was when you talked to Mr. Jones, can you tell us the general subject matter of what you talked to him about the Bronco, without telling us what you said and what he said?
Basically, why was the vehicle there?
All right. And did you get some response from him?
Yes, I did.
All right. Now, based upon that brief conversation you had with Bob Jones, did you have occasion to, at any point that afternoon, go over to or get inside of this particular vehicle, the Bronco?
Yes, I did.
And describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you did in that regard, if anything.
As far as walking up to the Bronco and
Yes, sir.
exactly what I did,
Yes, tell us what you did.
I opened the door to the Bronco.
Let me stop you there. Was the Bronco locked at that point?
No, it wasn't, sir.
And so you just walked over and opened the door?
Yes, sir.
And which door did you open to the Bronco?
The passenger's door.
Okay, the passenger side of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you've seen pictures of that Bronco, and you've seen the Bronco itself, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you opened the door to the Bronco, the passenger door, what happened next?
I looked in the vehicle.
All right. Now, is there any particular reason why you wanted to go and look inside this Bronco?
Well, I guess there's a couple of reasons. It was a big story. Just the fact of looking at the Bronco, O.J. Simpson being involved in it. It was a big story. I was curious.
You were curious at that point?
Yes, sir.
All right. Had you read or seen any stories on television regarding the Bronco being there?
Some stories.
Were you expecting to see it at Vertel's?
Not at all.
All right. So you saw it, and then you'd heard things about it, and you went over to it. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, when you went over to the Bronco and opened the door, tell the ladies and gentlemen what you next did after that.
I looked inside the Bronco. I looked at the seats, the floor. I looked at the dashboard. I basically looked all over the vehicle.
All right. And why'd you look all over the vehicle?
Well, Andrew and I were talking that it was said that there was a lot of blood in the vehicle.
Who'd said there was a lot of blood in the vehicle?
Well, it was said in the papers.
All right. You'd read or heard that?
I heard that, yes.
All right. And were you looking to see if there was a lot of blood in that vehicle?
Well, that was the first thing I looked for, yes.
All right. And you described for us how you, did you get inside the vehicle at some point?
Yes, I did, sir.
Describe for the jury again how you got inside the vehicle and where you were when you were inside the vehicle.
Well, once I looked in the vehicle, I sat in the passenger seat. I continued to look around the vehicle. I looked between the seats and I looked to the back of the vehicle.
All right. So when you got inside the vehicle and sat in the passenger seat and looked all around the vehicle, did you see any blood?
No, sir, I didn't.
Were you looking specifically for blood?
At first, yes, we were.
Now you said we. When you got into the passenger side of the vehicle and sat in the passenger seat, what did Mr. Andrew Adlin do, if anything, that you saw?
He opened up the driver's side.
And did you see him at any point put any part of his body inside the Bronco vehicle?
Yes, half of his body came into the vehicle.
Can you describe for the jury again how he did that movement?
The vehicle sits up high because it's a truck, and he basically opened the door and leaned over the seat and looked in the vehicle.
At the time he made that movement of leaning inside the vehicle and looking inside, were you already inside the vehicle?
I was already inside the vehicle, yes.
And you were seated in the passenger compartment, just as though you're seated in the witness stand there?
Correct, sir.
All right. Now, take your time and describe for the jury what you did from that particular vantage point inside the driver's compartment of that Bronco on June 21st, 1994.
Well, I basically, at first, looked for blood, and I looked all over the vehicle. I looked for fingerprint dust.
Do you recall seeing any fingerprint dust?
Not inside the vehicle, no.
All right. All right. Tell us what else. What happened after that?
I saw some dust on the windowsill. So I put my fingers on the windowsill to see if there was any dust on there.
All right. So you're holding your fingers up, and I want you to describe for this jury how you did this. What did you do with regard to your fingers on the windowsill, and which windowsill was it?
It was the same side I was sitting in, the passenger side. And I put my fingers up on the windowsill like this.
So did you leave fingerprints there as far as you could tell?
Smudges, but I looked at my hands.
All right. And you did that while you were inside the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. After you did this, what happened next, if you recall?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cochran, did you want to describe the motion?
Yes, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I should. Thank you, Your Honor. You made a motion, Your Honor, as though with all 10 of his fingers extended out in front of him as though he touched the windshield,
Palms forward.
palms forward. Is that correct?
Fingers, not palms on the
Okay.
window, but fingers.
Fingers forward?
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, what happened after you did this? You made this movement with your fingers forward.
I looked at Andrew and can't remember word for word, but basically what we said, we didn't find any blood. At that point, I happened to look down on the ground and I noticed that the floorboard on the driver's side, the carpet itself was cut out.
All right, you didn't see any carpet on the driver's compartment, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, tell the jury, how long did you stay approximately in this, inside the vehicle, looking for blood and putting your fingers first in the window of the driver's compartment? How long did you stay in that position?
It felt like it was for 5 minutes, but I really couldn't tell you. It was probably a couple of minutes.
All right. Did you look? Now, let's look and see. Let's try to determine where you looked. Did you look on the dash?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm trying to, thank you. Did you look in the dash at that point?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you have occasion to look at the console?
Yes, I did.
Did you have occasion to look on the driver's side door?
Yes, I did.
Did you have occasion to look at this? Did you have occasion to look at the steering wheel?
Yes, I did.
Did you look, I think you described for us earlier, you got in and you looked to your rear. Did you look toward the rear of the vehicle also?
Yes, I did.
Now, if I were to, at the last break, I showed you some photographs here, and I'd like to have you place that certain signature and have you take a look at them. I think this is Plaintiff's Exhibit 172, Your Honor. You saw this during the lunch break today, did you? This 172?
Yes.
All right. With the court's permission, can you step down for a moment?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you some questions. And you might let me give you one of these pointers. Why don't you stand over there so we won't block any of the jury? Let me give you a pointer. Can I just ask a few questions from this standpoint?
Actually, I think he ought to be on this side here, Mr.
On this side?
Cochran, on this side.
Just from this side.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Proceed.
thank you. Now, this is a mock-up of this particular vehicle with some photographs around it. I want to ask you specifically, let's start with this area over here, which purports to be the middle photograph, Your Honor, on the left-hand side of this particular exhibit. It has photo card 22 and 23 therein. Do you
Yes.
recall looking at that area of the driver's side door of the Bronco?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall at the locations of 22 or 23 seeing any blood at all at those locations when you looked on that date of June 21st, 1994?
No, I didn't.
I want you to look down at number 34, Your Honor, which is the third photograph on the left-hand side of this exhibit. This appears to be a smear mark there. Do you recall looking in that general area also?
I remember looking in the area, but I don't remember seeing that mark. I mean, I don't remember looking at, that's past the door, so I really don't think I looked that far into the car.
All right. 22 and 23, you sure you looked at?
I looked at that because I walked around the vehicle when I came to the driver's side and the door was open.
All right. Now, you described for the jury, I believe, that the part of the carpet was cut out the time that you saw it. Is that correct? And where was that? Would that be in the area of the driver's area?
It was in this section right here.
All right. He's indicating in the center, Your Honor, the area of the carpeting, near what would be number 33 there, area 33 there.
Correct, right now.
All right. Now, at some point you described for us that you looked at the steering column. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you see the photograph up on the top there at the left? Did you at some point look at that area of the steering column?
Yes, I did.
At any time on that date of June 21st, did you see any, what appeared to be blood on the steering column?
No, I didn't.
Now, did you in any way touch the steering column that day?
Yes, I did.
And describe that for the jury. At what point did you touch the steering column?
If I remember correctly, it's been a year and 3 months. When I walked into the vehicle, I grabbed the steering wheel to pull myself inside. And I sat down on the vehicle and I held the steering wheel for a short period of time.
All right, so that we have this sequentially correct, let me back up for a moment if I might. You had been in the driver's compartment, is that correct?
Yes.
And you told us you stayed in there for what appeared to be 5 minutes, may have been less, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you told us about your observations from that location, right?
Yes, sir.
At some point, did you have occasion to get out of the driver's compartment of the vehicle?
Out of the driver's
Strike that,
compartment?
out of the passenger compartment of the vehicle.
Yes, I did.
All right. When you did that, where did you go, if any place?
I walked around the vehicle, but I stopped at the window on the side, which you don't have on here. And again, I looked for fingerprint dust, and I put my fingers again on the glass.
Now, so that we're clear, the jury has a picture of where you put your fingers. This was on the right side of the vehicle or the rear of the vehicle?
The right side of the vehicle, the glass in the back, which is the biggest glass that shows.
Okay, and
Why
then
don't
at
we
that point you...
Excuse me, Mr. Cochran, why don't we refer to it either the passenger side or the driver's side?
Okay, the passenger
Depends
side.
on which side you're looking at.
Okay, we're talking about the passenger side still, right?
Yes, sir.
You put your fingers in the passenger side rear portion of the window, is that correct? Outside?
On the side, yes.
All right, again, will you demonstrate for the jury what you did at that point?
I put my fingers up on the glass, pulled them off, and I looked at my fingers.
And what did you see, if anything, at that point?
Just dirt.
All right. So, did you leave your fingerprints there as far as you know?
I would assume so.
Speculation.
Oh,
I would assume so.
All right. So, all right, after you
Objection, speculation.
After you made this movement, where'd you next go, if any place you promised?
I went around the vehicle, and I went to the driver's side. The door was open, and I looked on the ground, I looked at the rug, and at that point, Andrew and I decided that that's probably where all the blood was. It was on the rug, because it was cut out, and it wasn't there.
You didn't see any rug at that point, right?
Excuse me?
You didn't see any carpet or rug there at that point, is that right?
No, sir.
All right. So did you then have occasion to get inside the vehicle, or what'd you do?
I got inside the vehicle again. I looked over the console to my right, and I looked back, and then at that point, I got out of the vehicle, and we left.
All right. How long did you actually get in and sit down inside the
Yes, I
driver's
did.
compartment on the left side?
Mhm.
All right. Is that a yes?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay. How long did you remain in the driver's compartment on the left side, sir?
About half the time that I was in the front and on the driver's side, on the passenger side. So about 2 minutes,
Okay.
minute and a half.
While in there, did you do something and touch the steering wheel?
Yes, I did.
And did you have occasion to examine the steering wheel to see if you saw any red spots on it?
Well, I looked at the steering wheel, but as you can see, the steering wheel is black. So I couldn't tell you if there was anything on there. But I did look at it, and I didn't see any blood.
You didn't see any blood?
No, sir.
All right. Now, I want to specifically direct your attention to the console on the upper photographs to the far right. There is a photographic card number 30 and 31. And to the left of those, of 30, there appear to be some kind of red smudges. As you sat in the vehicle on the right side, the passenger side, did you have occasion to look down at that console as depicted there in this photograph?
I looked at the console twice. Once I was in the vehicle and before I entered the vehicle.
At any time or any point when you sat in that vehicle or before you got in that vehicle, did you ever see any red or blood spots at the items 30 and 31 inside the Bronco on that day?
No, sir.
You look specifically for it, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I were to ask you, with regard to these photographs down in the bottom right, Your Honor, or what appears to be the console now out of the vehicle, on the right-hand side of it, where it says 303, 306, in that same area, you never saw any blood at those locations either, did you?
Objection, leaders.
sustained. Rephrase the question.
Did you see any red spots when you looked at the console in that particular area depicted there at 303 and 306, sir?
I would have to look at 303 is
Up there, 306?
this one?
Yes, the one right next to it.
Yes, I did.
Did you see a blood spot there?
No, sir.
You did not?
No, sir.
You looked there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is, you were actually looking for blood, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, with regard to the dash There's a photograph here on the upper left-hand corner, number 24. Do you remember whether or not you saw any spots at all in the dash area of that vehicle? Any red spots?
No, sir, no, I didn't.
Thanks, Carl. So then, Mr. Blasini, as I understand it, during the time that on June 12th, strike that,
Excuse
during
me,
the time,
Mr. Cochran, are you going to use this exhibit anymore?
I think I'm finished on it, and we
All
can't
right,
take
because
it.
it does block
Okay,
your
let me
sevens.
allow me to take it down. All right. Now, Mr. Blasini, during the time that you were inside that vehicle, either on the right side or the left side, the passenger side or the driver's side, did you ever see any red spots resembling blood inside that vehicle at all?
No, sir, I didn't.
And when you left that vehicle, you had left, at least you had, on 2 occasions, placed your fingerprints in the windows of that vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Objection, that calls for speculation. You can't say you put a
Overruled.
sticker on it,
Overruled. Overruled.
Now, Mr. Blasini, you've come here today pursuant to subpoena. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've come here to testify because you've been subpoenaed. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
You did not volunteer to come forward, did you?
Not at all, sir.
And is Mr. Adeline still employed in his same line of work?
Yes, he is, sir, as far as I know.
All right. Who is a Mr. McElroy? Who's Mr. Chris McElroy?
He's vice president and chief of operations of Pick Your Part.
That's your company?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether or not at some point after you were inside this vehicle on June 21st, 1994, whether or not Mr. McElroy was inside that vehicle?
objection, speculation.
I'm asking if he knows.
Overruled.
Do you know?
I was told that he was in the vehicle.
All right.
No.
That answer is stricken. Jury's to disregard.
You have no personal knowledge about Mr. McElroy?
As far as seeing him in the vehicle,
Yes.
no, I didn't
All right.
see him in the vehicle.
Okay. He's still employed at your company now, is he?
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Adeline still employed at a rival company now?
Yes, sir.
Now, with regard to that vehicle, you have described for the jury where that vehicle was located, I guess, in T2 on 1254. You described the vehicle was not locked, is that correct?
Correct.
Before you got inside that vehicle on June 21st, did you have to sign any kind of log or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
Was anybody guarding that vehicle at that time?
No, sir.
You just walked up and got inside the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Both you and Adeline?
Yes, sir.
And while you were inside this vehicle, for however long it was, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, or whatever, was Bob Jones over there watching you while you were in the vehicle?
Bob Jones walked over with us
Yes.
and then walked away to his office while we were looking at the vehicle.
So you were in there by yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
And after you finished looking in the vehicle and making your observations, where'd you go then, if you recall?
Once we were done, I proceeded to pick up the paperwork from the vehicles that we had purchased, and I left.
All right? And you were there in the normal course of your business to buy some actual vehicles from Vertels, is that right?
Correct.
All right. May I have just 1 second here? Now, in your work in purchasing vehicles over the last 15-plus years, have you ever had occasion to see blood in the vehicle before?
Yes, I have.
How often?
Well, Pick Your Part purchases like 8,000 vehicles a month. So I come across a lot of vehicles, and a lot of these vehicles are wrecked vehicles that were in accidents, so on. And you get to see a lot of blood.
You've done that yourself in the past and seen that yourself?
Oh, yes.
Now, with regard to the security, if any, around this particular vehicle, can you describe for us, for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, whether or not there were any barriers or anything around this particular Bronco as you went in and got inside of it on that date? Can you describe that for us?
Yes, they do have, it's like the chain links that you see at the banks. that form the lines, that's what they used to block it off.
And where was that in relation to the Bronco?
It was on the outside of the Bronco, all the way around the restricted area.
All right? And when you went inside, how'd you get past that?
I think I can't remember correctly, but I think there's an opening on either side that you can walk right through, or you can just step right over.
All right, and that's how you just walked right in, is that right?
Yes.
And there's nobody there to stop you, right?
Oh, well,
Was anybody there to stop? Was there anybody there to stop you when you were there on June 21st?
No, sir.
In fact, Bob Jones was with you and walked away, right?
Correct, sir.
Thank you very much for coming today, sir.
Ms. Clark?
Blasini, how many years have you known Bob Jones?
About 3 years, maybe a little less.
And you saw him, what, once a week?
Every Tuesday.
So you'd seen him for somewhere between 2.5 to 3 years every week?
Well, off and on, because sometimes other people will come and do the auction.
He knew you.
Yes, ma'am.
You knew him.
Yes, ma'am.
You spoke to him on the average every week for almost 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find it unusual that he would let you look at a car without standing over you?
Overruled. Overruled.
Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Was there some reason you felt that Bob Jones should not trust you to look at the car without him supervising you?
No, no reason at all.
So when he left you alone, you did not find that to be improper or unusual?
Not,
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Bob Jones had every reason to believe that you would not do anything improper inside that vehicle, correct?
correct.
So when he walked away from you and let you be, you did not find that to be unusual?
Not at that time.
Now, you said you were looking for print dust?
Yes.
Why were you looking for print dust?
Because it was known that there was the vehicle was printed, there was blood in the vehicle, and that's basically what we heard, and we just took it for granted. Vehicles that are in restricted areas usually have print dust on them.
All right, and you saw print dust on the exterior of the car, did you not?
I didn't.
You didn't. You didn't see any print dust on the outside of the vehicle? Right? Is that
I
right?
didn't- Right, correct.
Now, the vehicle was inside the building of T2, correct?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
was not out in the sun.
No, it wasn't.
And when you got into that car, were you carrying a flashlight?
No, ma'am.
You're not a criminalist, correct?
No, ma'am.
Now, in the cases where you said you saw blood in cars on previous occasions, those were cases where the car had been in an accident, is that right?
Correct.
And so someone had either died or been severely injured inside that car, correct?
Correct.
And you saw big globs of blood, is that correct?
Well, sometimes you see big globs, and sometimes you see very little.
Okay. And in this particular case, you were expecting to see big globs of blood, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't, but you said that you read in the newspaper that there had been lots of blood. That's
Correct.
what you read, isn't that right?
Correct.
So you expected to see lots of blood, isn't that right?
I expected to see blood that I could see, yes.
Now, you did not get down and inspect the driver's door panel with a flashlight, did you?
No, ma'am.
And you did not, when you got into the passenger side of the vehicle, bend down to inspect the console closely, did you?
Not underneath, no.
And when you were sitting in the passenger side of the car, your leg was parallel with the console, isn't that right?
Yes.
Now, when you were looking at the steering wheel, sir, what effort did you make to inspect it carefully for blood?
I didn't.
And you cannot tell this jury that there was not blood on that steering wheel when you looked in it on June 21st, can you?
I didn't see any.
You cannot tell them it wasn't there.
Correct. Not on the steering wheel.
Now, on the driver's door, You indicated that you looked at a certain portion but not the other. Do you recall that?
The
You looked at a
drivers.
certain portion of the
I
driver's door
didn't see the
panel.
outside of the door. I saw the inside because it was open as I was coming towards it.
I need a water brigade, deputy. Water. Thank you.